same group and still have it work?
We've played with a few different ideas for it. We haven't announced anything. It's really one of those things that it's going to go in priority with everything else we've got to get in.
Players have the ability to invite other players onto their starship as like a social setting, or will the starships be limited just to the players that own them?
Right now, the plan is that you can actually bring in anybody that's in your party can come onto your starship.
Okay. Well, can they actually fly with you from one planet to another?
Yeah, and then what we basically do is, so we tried a few different options, and even though it doesn't make any sense intrinsically, basically your starship kind of follows you around. So if I fly with you over to Corellia, I'm not stranded. If I go back, if we break up and I go back to my place, then my starship's down in the garage. Yeah.
Will players be able to visit any other players other than planets? Like in a couple of videos they talked about players meeting up on space stations.
Oh yeah. There are space stations and asteroid bases and crazy locales out past the outer rim, and there's so much cool stuff. That, yeah, there's places that a lot of our sort of higher level content that's for multiplayer, it comes off space stations and kind of go off to several different places. So even if you don't have a group, you can actually pick up some of those same flashpoints, some of those same things in these higher level space stations. So you can just say, hey, I want to pick up some guys. I'm going to go there. I know people will be meeting there to get ready to run these things.
I'll talk to you a little bit about guilds. Y'all had the big pre-launch guild announcement, which is fantastic. Are y'all, with the focus on story and immersion that y'all had, are y'all planning on having any larger role for guilds in the overall story of the game?
We've got a couple more big guild announcements that are going to come out. This is sort of phase one, right? So we've got some more stuff coming up. So I'm not gonna kill marketing thunder on that. There's more coming on.
All right. The ranking structure right now is just leaders, officers, and members, but it'll be a little bit more intricate for the guild structure in the game.
Not sure. That's kind of tends to be a different group, and it's one of those things that goes back and forth a lot with the community, right? Like you've already noticed, like we put up the big guild site, we did all this stuff that really is not the normal way to approach guilds, because they're trying to get as much interaction with it, and as the community feeds back and says, hey, this is what we need, this is what's going to make it stronger, anything that breaks those social ties to each other, and it's easier to find where we're trying to go, right?
Of course, and y'all did announce the three different server types you're going to have: PvP, PvE, and RP. I think the big question that a lot of folks have is PvP servers are only going to have a lot of open PvP, but how will PvP work in a PvE setting?
That's another one of the big announcements still coming. So PvP is one of those things. So PvP in-game, there are things that must come out of your game being pretty well established, and if you understanding what works in your environments, what works with your classes, what works with your systems, and they're the two things that are completely ruled by player testing. Right? Everything you do on paper for PvP in-game is pretty much worthless when it hits the actual playtest. So these are things that they're coming soon, but they're really being heavily tweaked through testing. So much of our assumptions were just not right. If we told you 6 months ago what we were doing, right now I'd just be saying, so none of that.
One of the things that was real popular in some of the older MMOs in the old Star Wars galaxies were huge server-wide events, huge server-wide battles. And in this game, I can all imagine thousands of Sith and Jedi getting together and fighting in the same place. Are y'all making considerations for that, making plans for those sorts of things?
Yeah, this is another one, unfortunately, I can't talk about because it's from the PvP side directly. But Dave, who's our lead PvP guy, has some incredibly ambitious, fun plans to try to bring more into Star Wars.
The last thing I want to ask you about is how are y'all planning on approaching, once the game launches, are y'all planning on, as far as updating the game, you want to try to do more frequent content updates? Are you looking at doing like an expansion pack system?
Right now there are a bunch of different plans floating around, but all concentration is about launching this game.
Getting it launched first and then moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
We agree. Thank you, Daniel, very much. Good talking to you.